it's like now, I mean, there's so many resources, almost too many, but it's like trying to find people that resonate with you and almost speak your language and, you know, all of that, and make you feel like you're not alone. You're not abnormal. You know, this happens and there's ways to work with that. Welcome to the Natural Products Marketer Podcast, where we make marketing easier for natural products retailers so you can reach more people and change more lives. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Tina.
And today we're talking about our stories and how we got into this industry and how we can help you as well.
Okay, so Amanda, why are you in the natural products industry?
Okay, so I have a story, and it might go a little long, but I think it's fun. So looking back, because I was thinking through what we were going to talk about today, and I was like, I don't even know how I got into this industry, because if you would have asked me when I was a child if I would have wanted anything to do with supplements, I would have said absolutely not. I don't know about you, but I have vivid memory of those chalky Flintstone vitamins. And I hated them with every fiber of my being. And every morning, Mom, here you go, honey. I'm like, hated it. And so then at some point, she upgraded to a better quality vitamin, and it tasted worse, I guess, because there was actually nutrients in it. And so I was like, I want nothing to do with this. This is terrible. And then fast forward a decade or more, and I meet my husband, and at the time he was a manager at a GNC. And so he's been taking supplements for 15 years. He's been working in the natural products industry for 15 years at this point. And so when we were dating and first married, I was like, why do you take all this stuff? Like, you're young, you're healthy, you don't need this. And I was like, and it's cost us money that we don't have because we're broke newlyweds. And fast forward a couple of years after that, and we're pregnant with our first child. And he was like, okay, Amanda, you have to get your act together. Like, no more, I don't need supplements. Like, if nothing else, take it for our unborn child. It's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So I go to the OB and have my first appointment, and they give me all these supplements. So I go home, I was like, here you go, honey, I got my stuff, I'm going to start taking it. And he was like, why would they give you this crap? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, the omega-3s have next to no omegas in them. The multivitamins they're using like artificial colors and like non-bioavailable nutrients. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, but okay, if you insist, we'll go and get the good stuff. But it kind of like sparked a like curiosity. I was like, why would they give me something that doesn't work or isn't as good as what it should be? Like, after all, you're growing a human. Wouldn't you want to care more about what's in your supplements? And also at that time, we realized we didn't make enough money to bring a child into the world as well. So I was like, I need a part-time job to supplement my income. And he was like, well, we're actually looking to hire somebody part-time to kind of get this advertising program off the ground. We have this idea. Don't know if it's going to work, but do you want to like have a crack at it? I was like, okay, I think I could do that. So next thing I know, I'm working at our local health food store and trying to sell ads to manufacturers. And I quickly realized I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, I don't know what these products are. I don't know. Like, when I call Host Defense Mushrooms on the phone, I was like, I assume you sell mushrooms, but I don't know what that means. Like, so I'm like, I'm going to look really stupid if I don't figure this out. So I'm doing like crash courses on everything, herbs and supplements and all of these things. And I get hooked really quickly. And then all of the while, I'm also having to learn like different marketing tactics and all of this stuff. So it was just like this super intense thing. But within a matter of months, I was taking just as many supplements as my husband was, and he would just laugh about it because it's like, oh, how the tables have turned. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And I've been in it for 7 years now, and I have no plans of going anywhere.
Okay. That is blowing my mind for a minute because you just said 7 years. And I feel like you have been in this for longer.
Yeah,
'Cause
it
you know
feels like a
so
lot
much.
longer.
Yeah, you know so much. I come to you sometimes
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my questions about things. So that is funny that you're like, I'm just 7 years in.
yeah,
Um, that is hilarious. I was just thinking when you were talking about the mushrooms, my sister's mother-in-law, I took her to see a holistic doctor and he started about talking about mushrooms, taking mushroom supplements. And she was thinking that she was about to have like some LSD
yeah, yeah.
experience. So when people start talking about mushroom supplements, I always start laughing because of that story. Cause she was just like, and on top of that, I don't even like mushrooms. So I always have to remind people like there are non-psychedelic mushroom supplements.
Yes.
Totally fine and healthy. You don't have to go on a big trip in order
Yeah,
to experience benefits from mushrooms.
yeah. So what about you? What got you into this? Or I
Uh,
mean, you're
yeah.
into marketing. You've been in marketing for a long time and, being a web spurt and all of that. And we can talk more about that, but specifically natural products. How did you get into it?
Yeah, crazy. You were talking about your childhood and Flintstone vitamins. And then as you were talking about artificial dyes, and I was like, I know Flintstones had all of that stupid stuff in it. But yeah, sure. We had the same kind of things, but we were pretty unhealthy from born and reared right here in the South. And so we did not have a great diet growing up. So I was kind of a chunky kid and I always got made fun of. So I guess that's probably the beginning of me trying to figure out health, was trying to figure out how to not be a chunky kid that gets made fun of all the time. So I do think some like health issues that I ended up having a little bit later in life were as a result of how we ate when we were younger. And I would love to see that not happen for, the generation of children that we're rearing at this point. But what that turned into for me was in my 20s, I ended up being diagnosed with something called polycystic ovarian syndrome,
Hmm.
or PCOS, which I know a lot of people deal with. And at the time, they had a few options for me. First, they were like, you're about to go through menopause. That's just going to happen. And I'm sitting there in my late 20s and I'm going, wait a second. My whole reproductive system is about to go awry and I'll be on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of my life. So my options were birth control will help stave this off, but still they were predicting early menopause for me. Even if I did start taking birth control regularly. And I had adverse reactions to birth control, all the hormones. I know a lot of people do. And I did not want to put myself back in that bucket of and other people having to deal with my personality changes really.
Because it is real.
It is real. It was horrible. So I never ever wanted to do birth control again. The second option was ovarian drilling. So like surgery where they go and drill these holes into your ovaries and somehow that helps things. I don't even know. Once they said
I've never
drilling,
heard be like, no.
yeah, once they said drilling into my ovaries, I mean, honestly, I was sitting there in the doctor's office with this female gynecologist talking to me about what's going on with my body. And what had happened is I had no menstrual cycle for a year. And that's why I was like, okay, what's happening? Then we found this out. And so I was just floored by all of this news. Never have kids, going through menopause early, be on hormones for the rest of your life and or surgery. Um, so I asked, like, is there any way I can combat this with diet? Because I didn't even think about supplements. I didn't know. I mean, that felt like witch doctor kind of stuff for me at the time. So I was asking about diet. And I had an aunt who had epilepsy. And it turns out that she could have controlled a lot of that with her diet. We knew that by the time that I was in my late 20s. So I'm asking this question of my doctor, and she was like, no, there's nothing. So I was like, well, I got to think about this. I can't just like put myself through surgery and think that I'm never like my reproductive system is going away. So I did some research on my own. And the way I did it was online, but in my early 20s, there wasn't even that many resources online for PCOS. So I went to the old library to look some things up and found out that some people thought that it could be related to insulin resistance.
Mm.
So I changed my diet, and within 45 days or 60 days, my cycle came back and all of the symptoms of PCOS went away. I went back, got rescanned, another ultrasound, nothing wrong with my ovaries at that point. They were still having some hormone issues. So but that resolved itself a little bit later. And I just wish that I would have had a resource like some of these natural products retailers who, the reason I love them so much is when I go into one of the retailers, then I can ask questions. They have heard of what I'm dealing with before. It's not a surprise, and it's not a medical community response. Like, nope, just take a prescription and you'll be fine. It's typically natural substances like mushrooms or whatever might help. And I know there's a million things like inositol and other things that people with PCOS can use now, but mine resolved itself with diet. And as long as I limit sugar, processed sugars, and other things like that, then I don't have any symptoms
Mm.
ongoing. So I think I wish I had had that resource early on. I want people to be able to find those resources in their communities. And also, this is kind of selfish, but I'm in Chattanooga, so I can go to Nutrition World anytime. But if I'm not in Chattanooga and I need something, I can go to Vitamin World or Vitamin Shop and pick something up. But I'd much rather go somewhere where people care about research and what they're doing with that and can help lead me in the right direction. So I would
Right.
love to help other natural products retailers expand their presence so that I can find them when I travel.
Right. Well, that, and also, building up that resource library of information, whether it's on their website or on social media or whatever, YouTube, where it's like, Googling PCOS symptoms, natural remedies, and it's like, that would have been really nice to have, when you were going through that. And it's like, now, I mean, there's so many resources, almost too many, but it's like trying to find people that resonate with you and almost speak your language and, all of that, and make you feel like you're not alone. You're not abnormal. This happens, and there's ways to work with that.
Well, also people who have experienced it before. So just knowing that I can go to a place now that they sell the products that are going to help me, but also there are people in that store who've had PCOS or dealt with
Right.
it. And they can talk you through, well, here's been my experience, or we've worked with these other people. This has been their experience. And just feeling like I'm not the weirdest person alive would have
Right.
been great, because I was like, how can someone be in their 20s and maybe experiencing menopause? That makes zero sense to me. And when I talked to my friends about it, no one was having those same kinds of symptoms. Now, you're right, more people talk about things like that, but I felt weird. I felt awkward. And then I felt just hugely discouraged because um, reproductive problems at that age is just odd. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Well,
feeling like you're not alone. Yeah.
and then also, like, if you have, find those local health food stores with those people that really care. If they can't help you, it's like, hey, but we have a fantastic recommendation for, a physician that specializes in, holistic care, and like maybe she's great at hormone balancing and like all of this stuff. And they just have so many resources at their disposal of people that they know and trust. And it's just becomes this kind of just network of like-minded people that are all on the same mission to help people feel better.
Yeah. And, I don't want to demonize the medical community. There is a time and place for what they offer, and they have really great people that work there. And at the same time, it just feels like communities need more options than just what the medical community has to offer. that there are natural ways that we can combat these things without staying on prescription drugs for the rest of our lives. And some things need prescription drugs, but there are so many things that are getting prescription drugs right now that I just don't believe need that, because there are
Mhm.
other ways that you can work through that. And you're right, if you've got some experts that can either help you because they know what you're going through and they have some answers, or they can point you to someone in the community, like-minded philosophy, if you don't want to be on medicine for the rest of your life, that can help you work through, like, what are my options? Maybe we do medicine and,
Right.
or maybe we don't need medicine at all, which is great. But yeah, having those options and having someone sort of tailor a plan to what you would like to do in your life, instead of just being like, nope, this is the only option, that I feel like has made all the difference in my life. And I want that for other people, because I watch friends just go to the store and get prescriptions for the rest of their lives. And I don't think it has to be that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's why we're doing this, because we want more people to be able to live better and more healthy lives without having to work so hard for it. They shouldn't have to ask 50 people in the area, like, where's the place where I do this? They should be able to look up online and find you. And we want to help them do that. We want to help you be found and stand out in your area, so that your community has access to the very skills and expertise that you can bring to the table. So, Amanda, like, we love this, but what makes you good at doing natural products things besides just your years of experience working in the environment?
Yeah. So one thing, and we're going to do additional episodes on how the how to's of this, but I helped transform our local health food store and just get their marketing messaging more clear in correlation with my work with Tina. We work together and we've done a lot of projects since then. But just taking something that was struggling to, what is the thing that we do best, and getting that message out and being able to navigate, when Facebook isn't doing the things that it used to, how do you pivot and do something different? And so in the years that I've been doing this, we've learned different ways to get creative and find ways to get your message out to the community, and make sure that people know when they Google, like, hey, I'm looking for a health food store near me, that they can find you, and that they know what you do and how to find you as well, and access those resources that you have, and help you develop a lot of those tools as well. So that's the other thing that I'm sure we'll dive into this as well, different things that you can create to help take your business to the next level with your marketing collateral and all of that, to really get that message across. And because at the end of the day, we want to help people. And so getting people helpful tools to improve their health, make their life better, that's at the end of the day what we're trying to do. And it's just, I was in the trenches running the retail store, and then you have Tina in the back end doing her, like, SEO magic and all of this stuff, and it works together. And so that's what, my goal with this podcast is to help show you guys, in-store things that you can do, and then also some of this maybe technical stuff that is really scary, and make it not so scary.
Yeah, that all of that. And one of the things that I've loved about working with you, Amanda, is budgets can be smaller at the beginning of the project. And then as you make a return on investment, you can reinvest so that you can just continue to grow. And you have been expert at finding ways to pay for marketing that you generate the revenue in order to do that, which is not a typical marketer's stance on that. So it's been refreshing to see that from you. You've found ways in store to generate money for the campaigns and the money that you want to spend on marketing. And I cannot wait to share that with other natural products retailers, because I think they'll really be able to benefit from that. That's one thing we hear a lot is there's not enough money in the budget to spend on marketing. And the interesting part of that is businesses die if they don't spend money in marketing. So the research we've seen is somewhere between 6 and 15% to continue to grow your business. You have to be investing that much of your revenue into marketing. Now, how you do that or where you spend that marketing, you can be really creative with it, but you have to spend money in marketing to grow. And especially if you're like mom and pop or local stores, this is very important for you guys because you're competing with behemoths like Amazon, like the big brands, and the big boxes even are starting to get more and more into this space and take away market share. But the thing that they don't have that you do is a specialized skill, expertise, and track record with these particular products. You know things they don't know. You can make recommendations they can't make. You can network and make connections for people that the big box people cannot do for your community. That is where you can stand out. So there has to be a way to cut through the noise, be who you are, and stand out to the people who really need you. And that's what we'd love to help you do. I can do that with some messaging information, website, SEO, ways to cut through the noise and stand out against the bigger players in the industry. And I think that's one of the things I'll be able to bring to the table. So just as an example, we just ranked #1 in the nation for 26-2 yoga, which is a form of hot yoga, for a tiny yoga studio in Norwalk, Connecticut. So if anyone looks for that term, they will find my yoga studio in Norwalk, Connecticut, just because of the work that we've been doing on that. And that for them is 2,900 searches a month that's now coming to their website. So if anyone's in that area and they look up hot yoga, they're going to find that studio. And so we know how to do things like that technically to get you to show up on the page or online, in spite of all of the big players that are in town that are competing against you. But you have special sauce that they don't have, and we are going to help you stand out in that noise.
Thanks for listening to the Natural Products Marketer podcast. Before you go, we'd love for you to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you might be listening. And stay tuned for next week's episode.